Hello, everyone. I'm Plasmoirs. May like to call me that guy with the Afro. Okay, so as you've seen from a few videos in years past, I actually am an unapologetic election nerd. And the 2018 meh terms, I like to call it, pretty much summarize the biggest problem I usually have is that that's always divided government. The most annoying thing in the God given universe. But that being said, let's not make it a mistake. 2018 was not a blue wave or a red wall. It was par for the course, if not a little bit worse for the Democrats. Not entirely successful, not entirely terrible. That being said, my notes are pretty standard. I have a few little things I want to say right here before I go any further. Like, share, subscribe, and don't forget to donate to my PayPal. I would really appreciate having something other than one webcam in my bedroom and house. And I am almost on my way to Onicon. As soon as I'm done with this video, I'm getting my stuff. I've already packed my things, and I'll be heading to Houston today and heading to Galveston sometime later on today or tomorrow night. But until then, let's get down to the point. First and foremost, of course, the Democrats took back the House. Well, then again, that was almost a certain fact that was going to happen. We'll give credit where credit is due. If you look at my video about the 2012 election, we thought Nancy Pelosi was done. She had nothing left. It was game over, man. Game over. Like that. Instead, she stuck around and she might have won the best political victory of the night, although the victory is pretty shallow. That also goes to say that people didn't really care about the economy as much as they should have. Of course, that also means if you're in the Northern Rockies or in Florida, that was probably the biggest deal for you, maybe Montana, hint, hint. But that being said, what's next? What's your next goal? If you try to impeach Trump, you're going to get crushed in 2020. There's no doubt about it. Maybe they can work with scaling back the tax cuts that they don't like for some reason. I don't know. But really, the best bet is to work on social issues, the GBLTQ agendas. Those are the things they need to work on. Otherwise, I doubt they're going to have a very, very successful 2018 to 2020. Speaking of 2020, their wins, the Democrats in the House really wouldn't by that much. They're going to get around, what, 220, 230 seats in the House? That's like that. That's not very much. I hate to say it, but that's probably actually worse than if you were to not hold on to the House, because now people are going to see you as ineffective because you have a slight majority doesn't mean anything, really. I have to say, in this day and age of politics, if it were somewhere in the 250s, that would scare some Republicans. Barely, it's just not enough. It's not the majority you need. And even worse, you've got to remember they did nothing in the Senate all weekend. That's not going to play well for those. It could be like Obama's second term. I'd like to call right now Obama 1.5, because basically that's where we're at. It's halfway to being decent, halfway to being horrible for the Democrats. It's just not good enough. And that being said, what do? You can't really get healthcare set up. Can't really work on a lot of other aspects, such as maybe tax cuts are pretty hard to deal with. You're not going to work on immigration as you want. No, you're not. Definitely not have that. You could work on infrastructure, but let's be honest. Unless something miracle happens, the Republicans in the Senate aren't going to go with that agenda. I mean, again, they picked up a few seats in the Senate. I'll get to that point, but the blue wave isn't there. It just isn't in that point. You can flip a few of these seats in the Senate if you're a Republican. So the blue wave just didn't happen, didn't materialize, and now you got to worry about if you overplay your hand. That could be a danger of 2020. Probably the biggest point of the night beyond that was the Brett Kavanaugh effect. And I've said this in my Momo Kun video about how at least it brought forward the light of bad people being notified, that real bad people, not the ones like Brett Kavanaugh was just borking on a massive scale. It was the worst potential thing that Democrats could have done. No Democrat who was in a vulnerable position who voted against Kavanaugh won re-election. Joe Manchin voted for Kavanaugh. He was a Democrat. He saw the writing on the wall. He had to say, okay, look, this isn't going to work. I'm going to have to take the shot. And sure enough, he stayed in re-election terms. Somehow, some way, he got there, and he survived. That doesn't mean that it was a good night for the Democrats in the Senate, because I think they're going to lose. People say 4 seats. It's looking like they've lost 5 seats in the Senate. It's close. I mean, maybe I will double check that, but that was a huge, huge mistake. They overplayed it, and it cost them dearly. But let's get a little bit of notoriety out of this, because you know who actually won the most out of all the Republicans during that moment was Lindsey Graham. I mean, who is Lindsey Graham? Who cares about Lindsey Graham? Nobody. And all of a sudden, oh, you know what? You guys want power. I hope you don't get it, because you're going to do the same thing again. You got to give a hat off to Lindsey Graham. He could have easily just been himself, like, whatevs. Meh. Even worse than Chuck Schumer. Believe me, he's one of the more meh Democrats I've seen. And yet here he is saying, you know what? You've done this. We don't like it. Stop doing it. And all of a sudden, everybody loves the guy. So you got to give Lindsey Graham some credit there. If he doesn't do that, yes, the Republicans still hold on to the Senate, but it wouldn't be the major play that the Republicans needed. That's a huge gain. Now, next point is that Trump is good, but the Republicans, they can't just rest on Donald Trump. Let's get a few things out of the way. Trump economy is amazing. Look outside. It's been a better economy than Obama ever had. ISIS completely flatlined. Don't know what happened to them. North Korea isn't trying to produce another missile on us. That could have been a big thing with Hillary Clinton. I think that was the biggest success, that Hillary Clinton was just going to be, let him do what he wants. Probably be already in nuclear hellfire by now. I hate to say it, but yeah, Hillary Clinton would have been disastrous. But here's the problem. What are you doing as a Republican base? There's got to be something other than, here's where we are. We're Trump's something other. They've got to actually go to bat for Donald Trump. The people who are successful and the Republican Party right now are the ones who follow Donald Trump. The people who fail are the ones who don't like Trump, don't want Trump's agenda to become over, don't want to push for the guy who's in the White House. That's not surprising, because the way Donald Trump's doing things, it's pretty remarkable. But on the same instance, it's also kind of like a reminder, this is who we voted for. We didn't vote for, somebody who was boring, typical, blah, 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 robotic Hillary Clinton. We voted for somebody who was going to take the fight to the Democrats and not be ashamed of it. So that's what we wanted out of our president, and it worked very well. I say it's worked better than expected for Donald Trump. And the final thing I wanted to make a very clear point of, even though they won the House, the Democrats, look around. They didn't win a single election they needed to win. Yeah, they won the House. Maxine Waters is going to start threatening everyone. If you see them in the gathering crowd, harass them. Eric Holder is, when they go down, we'll kick them. That's their mentality. They get to do that in the House. Elizabeth Warren, she's in the Senate. It's not like she's going to gain anything now. Big deal, whatever. Warren's a safe seat. But they lost a lot of valuable territory. Beto O'Rourke lost in Texas. Even though it was a closer fight than I expected, you're not going to see him win 2020 if he can't beat Ted Cruz. If he doesn't beat the second runner-up for president, you think he's going to stop Donald Trump? Hell no, boy. Sorry. Michigan was a very close call in the Senate. They lost Montana as Democrats. They lost Tennessee. It really looks like they're going to lose Arizona. Pretty decent margin. They haven't called it, but let's be honest, they're going to call it. I think they definitely. Oh yeah, they lost the Senate seat in Indiana, so they've lost 1, 2, 3 that I know of net losses. They're not going to gain in Arizona. There was another place I think they had. I think their numbers are 4 or 5. I actually think it was going to be 5 before it. I didn't write it down or anything. 5 Senate seats for the Republicans gained, but the real loss, the one that's going to pound the Democrats for a long time, the biggest miscue of the whole night was Florida. Both the Senate seat and the governorship. 1% difference in any one spot that's vital turns the election around. That was a devastating loss. Forget everything else. You can gain as much as you want in the House. You can lose a few seats in the Senate and be fine. But them not having Florida, which has been the biggest swing state, it's been deciding, I think it's decided in the last 5, for sure, presidential elections in one way or shape. It's the biggest bellwether of the House. Maybe not Ohio as much anymore, but definitely Florida. In the nation, it's the biggest bellwether state. And if you lose that, you're in trouble because there's not a statewide election for another 4 years. Marco Rubio Senate seat is until 2022. So it means they're not going to have a shot at a statewide. They might win the houses, but now that one loss, I think, is the biggest loss of the whole night on Tuesday. If anything goes wrong, that's going to be the key reason why. So let's look ahead to 2020. First off, this wasn't a blue wave. It wasn't a red wall. It was par for the course, pretty much. Maybe a little less par for the course for the Democrats, but pretty much par for the course in general. The only real winners were the judges that the Senate is going to confirm, pretty much. They're going to get that pretty much done. They're going to have more of a majority. I hate to say it, but when John McCain, unfortunately, went before us, it pretty much set up the Republicans for success in the Senate. Until that moment, they were they were okay, but they weren't going to do anything great. No, they weren't going to be vital. Oh my gosh, that's amazing, to the point of, oh, okay, now everything's going to go hunky-dory. Now they take away from John McCain. And if you want to repeal Obamacare, this would be the time to do it, because the Senate isn't going to be so, okay, we're just going to sit here now. Maybe not so much when the new Congress starts, but right now, at this very second, they could have appeal Obamacare and it'd still be correct. It wouldn't be politically negative for Republicans. But really, as long as Donald Trump is the president, and I don't see impeachment happening. I mean, the votes are just too narrow in the House. They're never going to get enough votes in the Senate. The Democrats are going to have to find somebody. Who do you have? I mean, let's be honest. Both sides need to find a voice really quickly. Who do the Democrats have? They can't focus on Beto or a key loss to Ted Cruz. You're not going to beat Donald Trump. Elizabeth Warren could have been that voice until the Native American DNA thing got hit. I just don't see anybody right now. One good thing I will say, though, if Donald Trump is reelected, this is a good thing. This isn't a bad thing. We could see the end of political party alliances in the United States of America. That's a good thing. Now people get to vote on their thoughts and morals more than a political line. I think that's going to end up being what would happen in 2020. Donald Trump's probably going to be reelected. I mean, there's not a secret about it. He's probably going to win the reelection. And that's all there is to that. I mean, you can slice it up any 5,000 different ways you want to. He wins the re-election, there's nothing the Democrats have. They've got a outside chance, maybe with Oprah, maybe. She says she doesn't want to run. Joe Biden's not going to do it. Elizabeth Warren, no. Better O'Rourke hopefully had a shot for them, but he lost. So I see Donald Trump winning in 2020. Florida was a big win for the Republicans. Ohio probably will swing to him. If Bernie Sanders runs, we'll see if he does. He's up there in age. I don't think he's going to take Donald Trump down now. I mean, it's just no way. He might have had a chance in 2016, but socialism's not going to be a good message to run on. I don't think he would have won after one debate. I'll just say it outright. But in general terms, right now, Donald Trump is the favorite of 2020 by a light year. So we'll see what happens. But for right now, it wasn't really great. Wasn't really horrible for either side. Par for the course, maybe a little less for the Democrats. But in general, Florida, Florida, Florida. You're going to be hearing that the next 2 years. And if the Democrats get crushed in 2020, there's your reason why. Until then, starting tomorrow, I will be at OniCon until Sunday. Again, November 9th through 11th. Get there at Galveston Island. And also, after that, I'll have some important notes about next year. It's looking pretty good for a little bit of a change of pace for my usual convention year. It might mean I miss DragonCon, but it might mean I pick up something else that I really want to go to. But again, it's all going to depend on some timing issues. I think it's going to be all about Delta HCon next year. But again, it might mean I'll go somewhere else that I've been wanting to go to. Until I see the scheduling, until I put it all together, I'm going to say right now, OniCon next year is in play as well. DragonCon's going to be a maybe. We'll see what happens when I finally dissect all of it. But until then, later.